The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to The Gloves Are Off. I'm Moses Wilder, and we've got a great show for you. A lot of controversy, of course, with Donald Sterling. The verdict by the new commissioner, Adam Silver. We'll get to that in a second. I do want to get to these guys first. Greg Buchanan, no controversy with you just yet.
Yeah, the show just started, though.
Yeah, we still got another half hour to go. Pleased to be joined by, I know you're a former Bobcats assistant and doing a lot right now with the hockey program in Lloyd. Kyle Tapp, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be back. This is fun.
All right. We'll start with fun, or more so, let's start with some of the shocking developments. Now, you're a new commissioner. You've been on the job less than 90 days, and you have a bombshell like this with Mr. Donald Sterling. Of course, the racist comments towards African Americans that was picked up by TMZ over the weekend, really blown up. The NBA has finally done their investigation and have said, yes, that was Sterling on his voice. He has admitted it, and we're giving him a lifetime ban from not just the NBA, but any facility, any NBA facility, won't be allowed to partake in any Board of Governors meetings, won't be able to be involved in any decision-making, has not been relieved of his ownership of the LA Clippers. However, there will be a vote, and the two-thirds majority from the NBA owners can kick him out, and they'd have to find a new owner with the Clippers. But with what has transpired, also with a $2.5 million fine, was this enough? And are you impressed with Mr. Silver's decision-making?
I talk all the time with people in leadership positions, set the tone, right? For his first action, I think he set the tone. No one's talking about David Stern anymore. Now it's Silver, and he says, this is my regime, my reign. This is how things are going to be, and kudos to him. Obviously, the incident with the owner, you know, the ex-wife suing the girlfriend entrapping the owner, like it's quite a crazy story.
There's a lot more time to yes.
Yeah, you know, an 80-year-old man that, you know, maybe he passed his time a little bit, and it's good to move him out, especially if the Dodgers ownership was able to step up and take ownership of the Clippers. So
with Magic Johnson being involved in one of them.
Yeah, I think it's a great decision. You know, I don't have issues, of course, with the comments. Comments from that despicable. You know, there's no way that should be made. Just the way that it was brought towards TMZ. I have a problem with TMZ. I have a problem. Anything that's recorded could end up in the public eye, and that's our society nowadays.
That's the world we live in.
The world we live in right now, and anything can be sold for $1. And not saying that this is, you know, I'm not really condoning what he said, but at the same time, how it was portrayed in TMZ and how it came across TMZ for $1, really throwing this guy under the bus.
How much does David Stern have to take responsibility for this? Because David Stern, the previous commissioner before Adam Silver took over, has had issues before, hasn't been convicted. I'll say Mr. Sterling hasn't been convicted for anything, has fought in court various allegations, some involving racism, some comments, others involving with his business, is involved in real estate. He's been acquitted of all of that. However, the NBA has not really stepped in, this is during Stern's time, to say, you know what, maybe we've had enough of you, maybe you should quiet down. Fine him. I'm not saying you should kick him out, but just fine him, something. And then you had this complete mess on the job that's not your fault, and you have to actually clean it up. So how much does David Stern really need to step up and say something?
Well, obviously he did a great job for the NBA and his time as commissioner. I think it's almost like we mentioned about, you know, for Silver to make an impact. But Bucky mentioned it, money talks. You know, the LA Clippers were the laughingstock of the NBA forever and one of the biggest markets. And, you know, obviously a lot of that stuff gets swept under the rug until eventually it blows up. So, you know, I don't know David Stern personally. Obviously, I don't know the economics of what was going on at that time. But, you know, any time you're dealing with, you know, such a hot button issue like a race issue, in a sport that's dominated in America by African Americans, and that's where most of the fan base is, and
Your players. How can you alienate your players?
And the thing is, disciplining a player, disciplining a coach is one way, but how do you discipline an owner? And I think that's what the league has. The league has issues with, the owners probably walking the fine line. You probably should have sat down and talked to them, and they kind of saw this coming. This is, unfortunately, it's not a big shock to the NBA office. The way that it came out is probably a shock, but I think the way his thoughts and his thoughts about his generation kind of thoughts, it's nothing new to the NBA office.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next topic, and I do want to get to the NHL playoffs. And we'll start with the San Jose Sharks blowing a 3-0 lead in their series, or tied up with the Los Angeles Kings. Questionable goal, guys, that ended up being the go-ahead marker, the game winner, and according to Todd McClellan, was a terrible call and really turned the tide in this series. Do you guys agree that that was a bad call?
Brutal call. Yeah.
Of course it
brutal.
Was that a no goal?
Yeah.
Even though-
By the definition of the rule, you cannot push the goalie into the net and cause the puck to go in the net that way. If he would have made a play at the puck, which he couldn't because the goalie was in the way, goalie's in a stationary position. Kerry Fraser hammered that out on SportsCenter. Said
Even if the puck was slightly visible,
Doesn't
you'd still
matter.
blow the whistle.
Doesn't matter.
The stick and the puck were not making contact. The puck was on the other side of the goalie. Referee was right over top of the net. He could see it, and yet he still made the wrong call. And if this guy is ever doing another game in the playoffs, there's something seriously wrong with the NHL.
Okay, but what happens to the San Jose Sharks now? I know this is a team that had, besides losing Game 6, this is a team that had a chance to wrap up this series in games either 4 or 5. Do you feel that the pressure is now on San Jose and the job security, especially for Mr. Todd McClellan?
Well, it's talk a lot in the coaching circles about culture and an environment, and there's a culture and environment that's been there for a long time before Todd McClellan of underachieving in the playoffs. You got to look back to the personnel, the people that have been there long term, and vice versa with LA, a team that's battle tested, playoff tested, been there before. You got to win 4 games, and it's not a race to 3. It's a race to 4, and they're in trouble now, and they got some issues with the flip-flop of the goalies and not getting big-time performances out of some of their key guys, and that's why we love this game.
Todd just picks up the phone and calls a guy named Hitchcock, and he knows what's going on in St. Louis because the same thing happened to them. St. Louis had a great season. They kind of limped into the playoffs, looked like they were off to the races against Chicago. Chicago's is just as young as they are. They're a veteran, battle-tested team that really never panicked, and when it came down to it, their big guys became their big guys every night. Taves, Kane, and that last game, Seabrook, and you look at it, they just good, solid hockey team. And LA Kings were a team that, they were down 3-0, but at the same time, they could have easily, those first 2 games were blowouts. That third game could have went their way, kind of a fluky overtime goal by Marleau, and they never really got flustered. And LA is right back in it, and they have a chance to win it.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We got tons of topics to talk about, including the Pittsburgh Penguins. You talk about a team that's kind of looked like they're floundering, but yet they won their series over Columbus. We'll have more coming up later.